So carrying on with the Lancashire Car Club sets, we have a Nato 40. One of these. With another broken switch. Well, that doesn't... Delta tune's pretty pointless anyway. I don't think there's a speaker in this, but we'll see what the notes say. So this is the Cybernet 002F chassis, as used in the genuine Amstrad. It doesn't look like there's a speaker. It's more annoying when the nuts and bolts are missing. I was hoping that the contacts would still be inside, but they're not. So we'll have to solder that, we'll link that up for normal operation. Let's see what the notes say. If you have a suitable speaker, that would be great, but happy to continue if not. Yeah, broken Delta tune switch, well, we can't do anything about that. Apart from make the set work. It's a bit corroded on this antenna connector. Let's go around that with the fiberglass brush. And once again, Cybernet microphone. It's the only one we've had to use on this batch of sets. So we'll start off by switching the power supply on at 12.8 volts, limited to 350 milliamps. The set lights up and it's on 19. It's drawing 260 milliamps, so that's alright. We'll go over to our memory 3, which is 13.8 volts, and in this case we're currently limiting it to 1.6 amps. We'll switch picture in picture on, and we'll make some notes. Transmit. I haven't switched the power supply back on. I'll just make sure these knobs are in the right positions. Yeah. And it's doing just over 3 watts. 3.1 watts. Look at frequency, we'll take it with a pinch of salt because I've only just switched a test set on 10 minutes ago. Very low. I'm going to bring that up right now and then we can attend to it again later on. if it will go. Used to have a good phosphor bronze one, didn't I? Where's that gone? Anyway, 79089. We'll see if we can bring it up a bit further later on. At least it's not out of spec. Deviation. Wallow. Oh, here we go. Wallow. 7 on the 25 scale. 11 kilohertz deviation. I think that needs to come down a long way. And receive. Right, we'll plug in the test equipment into the extension speaker socket. And I have absolutely nothing. Well, why would that be? Supposing we plug the plug into the no, absolutely no received audio. Let's try public address. No, but no public address function. Well, folks, it looks like the audio IC shot it then, doesn't it? Right, I'll pause the video and we'll take the other lids off. So one of the first things, I wouldn't be surprised if the protection diode isn't short circuit. There's no screws in this printed circuit board. So before we start changing ICs, is it because nothing's picking up any earth? We'll find out. Yeah, that's short circuit. Right, we'll dig one out of stores. Right, so we've got to a situation where I've put a new protection diode in, and in public address the radio still is not doing anything. So the audio IC will have failed. What's happened is somebody's connected power the wrong way around, and without a protection diode, it's killed the audio IC. Now, had this been an Amstrad, it would have killed the BA656 bar graph driver as well. And it may have killed the LA4422, but it doesn't seem to have done. And here's the clue, because I've already looked at this. So there's the meter. Let's go back to CB. I've got the signal generator on frequency, and look, the meter's moving as I turn it up. That's S9, and it's quite a decent signal. So clearly the radio is receiving, so it doesn't look like the LA1230 has been damaged on this occasion. So we'll turn the power supply off. And we'll have to, I'll start unscrewing a few things because there's no point in having all this connected up when we've got some faffing to do. The easiest way of getting this out. So the last thing we want is mechanical strain on the pins here. I'll clean up where that atrocity's been. So we'll just go down this with the solder sucker. And then unscrew the heatsink, Anyway, I managed to find 4 recovered screws from various things to screw the printed circuit board back onto the chassis. I had no idea what that was about. So we've now got the whole audio IC assembly out, and it goes the opposite way to what you expect. The writing is on the inside of the heatsink and pin 1 is there, and we can see it's got a bulge in it. I'm going to zoom in with the camera. Let's make sure we're in the right position. So instead of this being smooth, it's got a bulge there. See if I move it around, should you be able to see that bulge? So we'll get a new audio IC out of stock. Right, so we've got a new one. Doesn't say Sanyo on it though. And Mr. Chippy has put some heatsink compound on that. So it's a matter of carefully removing, and you can tighten these till they break, these plastic bolts, and there's a mica insulator underneath not to lose, because the tab's isolated from the chassis on this product. There's the mica. So now I've put the part back in place, the important thing, I'll take the camera back to its normal position, is to put the screws back in the heatsink first, and then we'll solder it, because if you solder it first, you'll put the pins under mechanical strain when you solder it. And once again, I'll clean this up later. So with the protection diode gone, what will have happened is this will quite simply have been powered up reverse polarity, and that will have blown up. So we'll try it in PA mode first. So this has been to Mr. Chippy's department, and he's cleaned the front. The Delta Tune switch, he's linked it in such a way that it's permanently in the correct position. So the reason he's done that is I had to have him change the volume control. That was the second thing that was no good. So once I got the audio IC back working, I had no control over the volume, which was very minimum. But it was clear that the audio was then working. We'll connect it back up. He says if you can do it in 15 minutes, the rest of it, I'll test it right now, he said. Right, where are we now? PA, yep. High, off, normal. That's it. So switch on. Getting a click from the speaker, which is what we had before. And my mic managed to get round the extension speaker. Want mic gain to full. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Right, we've got PA back, so that's fantastic. So switch it into CB. Channel 20. Right, so we'll get the service manual for the, we could either use the Fidelity 2001 or the Amstrad, whichever comes quickest. Amstrad comes quickest. So the VCO is capacitor 9. So it's channel 1 we do it on. We're on channel 1. Can't remember whether it's a negative earth chassis. We can soon check. It's negative earth chassis. So we've got 2.1 volt. My light's right in the middle of that. So it's transformer 1, should be 2 volts. It doesn't need changing at all, but we will do for the sake of the video. And then what do we do? We're going to transmit. We need to check That's interesting, it's not transmitting. Perhaps it's out, we'll find out. And it should be, once again, 2 volts. Right, so that's got it hopefully right. So, receive 2 volts-ish, transmit 2.12. That, it was a minus voltage and it was intermittently doing transmit because of that. So now we go over to channel 40 and it's looking for 4 to 5 volts. I can see channel 40. There we go. 60111. So that's very close to where it should be. So that's fine. It's not going to go any higher without changing the crystal. So we'll go through the, we'll go back to channel 20 and we'll go through the transmit lineup. And put the camera in the right position. Three and a half watts. 3.5 watts. Three and a half watts. 3.8, and it's quite hot now. Yeah, 3.8. So on the meter, it's a bit over the top there. Set that to 4. Check low power. Where's low power on these? Tone, Roger Bleep, Channel 9, Mod, PA, Delta Tune, I haven't got low power. Oh well. Right, well that solved that problem, hasn't it? What a disappointment. So deviation, that was well high, wasn't it? I remember it's that one without looking at the manual. Get the little oscillator out. So we need to bring that down. Let's put picture and picture back on. It looks like we've been doing half this without it. Try it there. Wallow, that's a bit too low. Wallow. The only radio this would have sounded good to would have been a Fidelity 1000. So that's completed the transmitter. So let's look through the receiver. So switch the oscilloscope on, and go to the oscilloscope's camera if I can find which one it is. Switch the bench light off, and just do the detector. Which isn't that one. It's that one, isn't it? Oh, miles out. Miles out. I was going to say it must have sounded garbled, but it didn't sound anything because there was no receive, was there? So we'll get the cyanide meter to 4 dB so that it's not saturating the receiver. Go through the front end. Spot on. Spot on. Because we didn't do a receive test, did we? Because there was no receive. Let's do these. The one I did in by mistake. I've got it back dead right. Nah, that's not very good. It's 0.95 microvolts. See whether we can just get a bit more. Oh, hang on a minute. Is RF... No, RF gain's down. Wow, that's more like it. 0.3 microvolt. Zero 0.29 microvolts for 12 decibel cyanide. Excellent. Then check the squelch, which is a weakness on this chassis. So with the squelch at full, I've still got the I've got no squelch action whatsoever. RV5. Yeah, it's that one for the meter. I'll tell you what, we'll do the S meter whilst we're thinking about that. So that's not kind of S9. We've got an S9 signal now on. I'll just spray that. There's a bit of a dirty spot on it. There we go. And so back to squelch. Well, I'm glad there is squelch action. So I've set that to full, and let's see what happens. Put the signal generator back on. Let's show you the attenuator controls. So we're at 0.3 microvolt, 1, 3, 10, 30, 100. So it's never coming in. I want it to come in as 100. That's coming in at 30. Just see whether we can get a little bit more squelch action. Yes. 100. That's where I want it to be. So let's see where it is at the bottom end. So we'll park the signal generator at 0.3 of a microvolt, advance that, switch the signal generator back on, coming in at 1 microvolt, leaving it 0.45. So it's one of the weaknesses of this chassis. So we've got a bit of an anomaly with the speaker, with the microphone connector. It's actually intermittent, so I'll just look into that. It could be the socket not making contact. So it's not always going into transmit. So what can happen is these pins can close up. So I just put a precision screwdriver very carefully in there and open them up. That can be all that's wrong. Now 2 of those were okay, and 2 of them were far too closed. But I don't want to break them, do I? So I'll just look to see whether it's dry joint the other side. There's a possibility one of them is. Where's my solder gone? There's a little scrap of solder on the edge of the bench. Making sure the set's turned off. So let's see whether we've still got intermittent transmit. No, that's cured it. The transmit light's always coming on, no matter how I waggle, which is good. The only issue I have is I'm not happy with the VCO. So go back to channel 1. So I've got my 2 volts going to transmit. I've got 4 point something. And it's supposed to be, see, I've already forgotten. Can't even turn the pages. Still supposed to be transmitting it. It's supposed to be 2 volts on transmit. So going to transmit 4 volts, so just the trimmer, two volts. Go out of transmitting to receive, 2 volts, transmit, 2.15. Go to channel 40, and it's supposed to be around about 4 volts, around about 4 volts. It's set up now, it's set up. You know, between one thing and another, it's come right. We'll have the set on overnight and make sure it works tomorrow. Good, so I'm glad about that. Now, regarding the speaker, yes and no. I don't think that the customer's going to want to spend the £5 these speakers are, and we've lost the hardware, so I'd have to trap it between nuts and bolts. So I say we've lost the hardware, they've lost the hardware. Now, you know, this set's already had an audio IC, and I bet they're £5.95. And we've done more than a retune and test, so our fee goes into service level 2 and not just the retune and test fee. I've done that diode. You know, I know it's only 5p, but it's another thing, isn't it? So if we start spending money on speakers, so considering what they do, I think in this instance they're probably best off carrying on using an external speaker. Had the hardware been there, I might have said, yeah, it's worth doing. Anyone know what I did with the lid from this set? Should be easy to find. It's the one with no speaker in it. yeah. So you've not got this hardware. So the way they tend to be clamped is like that. Alternatively, the speakers can end up being square with tapped holes for the screws, but you know, the fact we're not going to ever get a factory original speaker, so I think this is going to be the best option for them. I know Mr. Chippy's trying to be raring to go, but I'm not going to kind of fob the job off just because he's wanting to go. These were £69.99 at the time, for those of you who are interested. So we'll put it on the aerial, we'll keep it on the extension speaker. I don't like doing on the air test with the extension speaker because it's an unfair advantage. It's obviously going to make it sound better than all the sets which we test on their internal speaker. So that's the kind of arrangement you sometimes have, nuts and bolted through a square speaker. That isn't the right type, and I can't pinch it off a customer's set anyway. I think it's a round speaker, and I think there's a round cup that goes over it with the 4 holes tapped. That's how I remember them being. Right, so we'll connect it up, and of course, unless you've got the right power connector, and this is a bit broken, someone's put plus on it. That's very, very important. So we know that negative is that one, we know that positive is that one, just like that. You can see how easy it was for that to get reverse polarity and blown up. So we'll flick round the channels. Start at 19, and then we can do 19 Roger, can't we? 19 Roger. Remember, this does nothing. There's something there. There's something there. A Roger. Nobody there for a Roger. So we'll get the camcorder going, which I've actually charged this time, and we'll see whether we can talk to Mr. Chippy over our usual route. So thanks for watching the Nato 40 FM, which is from 1981.